Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I am joined, as always, by Don Pizzette. Don, how was your Independence Day, 4th of July weekend?
Yeah, had a lot of fun. Went and did a tour of an aircraft carrier, which is a lot of fun if you ever have a chance to do it. Slightly different type of technology, but impressive nonetheless.
That is that's a very American thing to do on the 4th of July.
America.
Probably outdated technology, too, because like aircraft carriers, most of them have been around for
Yeah, this one was
decades.
retired. It was like diesel. I think they're all nuclear now. Yeah.
All right. Daniel, can you match that?
I sat on my back porch and watched other people shoot off fireworks.
Oh, you win. You win.
It was pretty good.
And then that one didn't involve leaving the house.
My wife kept saying, everybody on Facebook is complaining about the fireworks. I'm like, they do understand what day this is, right?
all that's on Facebook was dogs. Just
really?
They were mad. Yeah, they get very upset.
Oh, well.
About the fireworks. And we are joined today by Randall Edwards, who is a product manager with CompTIA. Randall, how are you?
I'm doing great. I can't top any of those. I took a tour of the driver's seat of my vehicle to drive up to the beach. So,
okay, but the beach part was probably the highlight more than the drive, right?
Yeah, with two small kids in the back, it's such an exciting drive.
Yeah, we'll be getting sand out of that car for
there's no technology that can solve for that.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you throw a couple iPads in the back for the kids, though. And
there you go.
Hopefully that takes care of it. Well, let's get to know a little bit more about Randall in our first segment for the day, which is Rapid Fire Questions.
Who do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
All right, Randall, in this segment, we're going to do rapid fire questions. We will kind of rotate between each of us, throw a question at you, and you'll have approximately 1 minute to answer. If you take too long, Peter will buzz you. Like that. We'll move on to the next question.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we will see how it goes. The first question coming at you from Peter.
So, Randall, I'm curious. I looked down your LinkedIn bio, and it says you used to be actually a museum curator. And I'm wondering when you just said, screw it, I'm going into IT. Like, how did that move happen?
I think it was about the 10th straight night of doing 12 hours a shift, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. But it's really fascinating because I'm kind of one of those career changers, right? Where I started out in I have a history degree, and I like to tell people I'm about 50 pages away from a PhD in art history, and there was some point where I realized I was working with technology, and I had started working for a publishing company. And as part of this publishing company, I was creating content that was digitally based. And it was about how do we assess digital learners? I realized, hey, I'm doing tech. I'm opening up the browser and I'm manipulating the HTML5 in it. And it was kind of like, maybe I can go do something in tech, and that's how I got to where I am now. And I hope I don't get the buzzer. Do I have a few seconds left? It looks like
Go
I
ahead.
might.
Go ahead. I'll allow it.
Not anymore. Get up.
I mean, you've already disappointed your father enough, with the art history degree. You can't go to the
funny
PhD.
thing, he got his CompTIA A+ in 1996.
All right.
Wow, that would be one of the first years, right? When
good for life. He worked in tech for the next 30 years.
Impressive.
Wow. Well, speaking of A+, at CompTIA, you are a product manager for several of the infrastructure certifications, A+, one of them, Cloud Plus, and a few of the others. What does your job role actually entail? Like, what does it mean to be the product manager for these certifications?
The thing I like to tell people is I have to kind of influence with that authority. I don't have anybody that actually works for me, but I have to make sure that the certifications get launched. So we look at doing research. We talk to subject matter experts. We make sure that what's supposed to be on the exam is on the exam. These get refreshed rather often. Tech moves quickly, and we need to make sure that the certifications keep up with the technology that's out there. So my job is to make sure we get the right content on the exam, we get the right job roles, we get the right exams and certifications out there. And that's what a product manager does. I manage the product, and that's a great way to just define what I do using that question, right? Is that allowed? Can we say that?
Yeah. The word and the definition. Yeah.
It doesn't work for Webster's.
I like it.
No, I would not do well there.
And actually, it kind of segues into my question, which is, how do you do that? How do you say, okay, like Windows 11 has just come out, we got to make that technology fit inside of a certification in some way, shape, or form? What does that process look like?
Great question. I have a lot of fantastic teams that I work with. I work with a research team where we routinely send out surveys to individuals who have recently had, say, the A+ certification. And we ask them, if you're one of these people who have been with CompTIA and have one of our certs, you're going to get one of these surveys where it's like, hey, maybe win a free t-shirt, but please give us some information. And we really go to the market and try to find out what is there. So we do surveys. We talk to SME, subject matter experts. I probably talk to, something on the range of 500 to 600 individual subject matter experts every year, and figure out where things are going. Look at documents. Go to NIST if you're looking at cybersecurity, and find out what's new there. Constantly reading everything that comes through in all of our different Slack channels. I could go on and on about this, so somebody's probably going to have to do the buzzer on me at some second here.
I think this is our first guest that wants to be.
I know, he really wants to. You can divide the time how you want. Yeah. Just when we get to 5 minutes, that's when I'm going to stop you.
Yeah.
I'll go to the next question then.
Yeah, okay. So I'm curious what the roadmap is for the infrastructure certs. Are you kind of at a point where you're just maintaining the ones, or are there new ones that are coming out?
Server Plus just launched a new version. Cloud Plus just launched a new version. Network Plus is coming out really soon. A Plus is going to be coming out next year. Linux Plus, a refresh, is coming out next year. And we're looking at DevOps. We're looking at SysOps. And we're trying to find out, kind of where are these more niche areas, but that really have some growth potential. If you hear IT and it's not cybersecurity, it's kind of DevOps right now, right? There's really some growth potential right there, I think, for the market and for the industry. And we're trying to find out, where do we need to help people certify so they can prove that they've got the skills to do the job.
And so when you guys come out with a new cert, I understand there's a beta process. What is that like, and how do people get involved with that?
The beta process is a really fascinating one where we're looking for individuals who are in the job role. So every one of our certifications is tailored to a job role. So if for A+, it's that kind of 1 year tech support individual. And we put a beta out there. So if you're in this job role, you can take the beta. We usually offer them for $50. And if you do well enough...
I'm sorry. God, that sounded really exciting too. I was waiting to see... No, I'm sorry. Please go on.
No, so you get the opportunity for discount to take the certification and be one of those individuals that helps us get the statistics, the psychometrics in the testing world on the back end to find out just how to validate that certification. So it's a multi-tier process, but for the end user, follow us on our website, follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and every time a beta comes out, you'll see there is one. We've got one for Data Plus right now. I'll talk a little bit more in one of the upcoming segments.
Very cool. Now that I know your background too, I'm curious, and for the listeners only, is that a Monet behind you, a Monet?
Manet, perhaps. No, this is just one of the paintings we have at CompTIA HQ.
Oh, you're at the office. That's not your home.
I am at CompTIA HQ here. I can't lay claim to this one.
So
all
the original artwork is at your home.
that was one of his parting gifts as he left the.
Yeah,
the museums I worked at. Their security was, let's just say, better than some of the cybersecurity that we see from firms nowadays.
Yeah, you hear more about cyber attacks than you do about stolen art.
But it does happen.
It does happen, but it makes big news when it does. All right, well, while we've got you here, I want to talk a little bit in our next segment about moving to the cloud. And I know that you saw some interesting things with a shift to the cloud with more people working from home. And I'm curious, give us your take on that and what you observed.
Yeah, this was fascinating. We've done a large amount of research on this, and we're not the only ones. But we've seen that since the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and there was kind of that forced move for people having to work from home, that a shift that was already underway really just crystallized. It was like that avalanche coming down the mountain and just really picked up a ton of snow to, continue that metaphor. And for the first time, we had individuals at home, some IT pros that had to be in the office or at home, had to be able to work from both places, which they kind of already had done before. But we saw data centers, and data centers are kind of maybe the key here, that were already proliferating, just go from, having $2 billion worth of investment in an area in a given year to having 4 to 6 in that area. So the doubling to tripling of the amount of individuals that would be working there, the amount of money that would be put in. I've worked closely with the Microsoft data center academies, and I just hear, it's like every next month they've got another data center coming in somewhere. And so you have the data center, which really backends and is that infrastructure, right? Because the cloud is just somebody else's computer. It's just a data center somewhere. It's a really big computer with a lot of compute power and a lot of cooling and data camouflage and all those cool things. But it's just somebody else's computer, the very most basic part of it. And we saw that movement from the infrastructure side. Now, from the cloud side, there was the proliferation of, we're doing this on Zoom right now. And you saw those PaaS, SaaS, IaaS applications just kind of really take off as well. So you had the infrastructure movement alongside the same time, the software movement that was back-ended. And it's kind of been, I'm going to use this word, it's been synergistic, where you've had the technology infrastructure side of it really allow those new things to occur. And it was kind of fortunate in a way. Maybe one of the few good things to come out of this pandemic was that we learned how to really harness that infrastructure that had been built and to take advantage of it in a way that we've seen productivity gains. I was looking at recently, one of the surveys we'd done suggests that for IT pros, the productivity gains they had were something like 25 to 30%. So this is an individual at probably the most difficult time in their career being asked to multitask, but then becoming that much more efficient. Really, I thought that was just kind of outstanding. Yeah.
I kind of feel like 10 years ago, there was a lot of resistance for people moving to the cloud. And it took some of the bigger enterprises a little while to decide, no, we're not going to do it ourselves. We'll go ahead and leverage some of these, AWS or Azure or Google Compute, whoever. But now I think all of that resistance is gone. Like, people have accepted that as a standard solution to their problem. And most organizations in some form or another have adopted it. So, you've kind of said that through your surveys, you see where people they're already in the cloud, at least on the server infrastructure side. Now they're moving their desktops to it. At what point do we get to where we're back to like dummy terminals on our desk, where we're not capable of running individual applications on our own machines? Is that in our future, or does it stop short of that?
What did you call me?
Yeah, I like to call people a thin client, not a dummy machine. But just one or the other. That's the multi-million-dollar question, right? It's a fantastic question. I recently had a new PC issued to me. Let's see, Intel Core i7 V Pro. Do I need that? Do I need that to run Power BI through a web browser? I don't think so. It looks cool. It boots up quick. I like that. But I think with that movement, we're seeing that the skills necessary for these IT pros aren't specifically, how do I tear down a computer? How do I fix it? Everything's just in the box now, right? And you need to understand the back end. You need to understand what the architecture is, or how to deploy something or to migrate something. And, so that's what we've done with Server Plus and Cloud Plus, where we've kind of created these two skill sets for those server administrators who are working on premise in those servers, who are working in those server rooms for SMBs, and then for those cloud engineers or cloud architects, sysadmins at that kind of higher level, to be able to know what they have to do in the cloud. And you were mentioning earlier Azure, GCP, AWS. So we kind of take the tack with Cloud Plus, where you need to understand the language of cloud, not specifically the Amazon language or the Microsoft language, but the underlying language, and have those foundational capacities. And that's what we're trying to do with our certifications.
All right. Well, speaking of cloud specifically, I know you guys have some free trials going on now with CompTIA Cloud Plus and Server Plus. We're going to drop those links down in the description for sure. But what are those trials of? I mean, not the exam, obviously. What are we trialing?
No, not the exam. It's our official CompTIA content. And so CompTIA's slowly been building out our own content where it's kind of a one-stop shop. So you can come to us for your certification exam to get validated and to get certified in the subject matter. But you can't just like go straight to it and be like, oh, hey, I think I know what I'm doing with cloud. I'm just going to sit down and take this. People want to prepare. They want to test. They want to get ready to be able to test. And so we have a 2-week trial for most of our portfolio, but for Server Plus and Cloud Plus, which just came out with our new official CompTIA content, you can get a 2-week trial, free trial when you go to the link, which I think is probably going to be somewhere down there, right on the screen, right here.
Yeah, we're going to put it in the description. Yeah, in the description actually. So great. You can't click on the screen here. This is just
no, you just start touching it and it gets all smudgy and
I use a Mac. You can't touch this. Yeah. And then, in addition, you guys have it's IT Pro Appreciation Week coming up on July 26th through 29th. What is it, like a carnival? What goes on with that?
Yeah, big tent. We dug tank for the server administrator.
I like that. That would make some money. Yeah.
Yes, just please. Maybe it would be the dunk tank for like the CISO or the CIO. But hopefully they're not watching this. You guys are great. You're great. You do fantastic work. We'll have some great discounts and some features. Check out our website, the 26th to the 29th. I don't think I'm allowed to say what it is, but now that you want to know, come to our website. You won't believe what number 3 is on the list.
Ooh, clickbait. Yeah, right. This guy used to work at BuzzFeed, I can tell.
Drivers in Florida.
Yeah. Single ladies in my area? It's just those are the ads I get. I don't know.
And there's always like the picture of, you won't believe this, and it's never one of the pictures.
Has nothing to do with the photo. Yeah,
never
of course
is.
not. But I always click to check. All right, and finally, you guys, you mentioned just real briefly before, but you have the new Data Plus certification, and we talked about that beta program. So is that in effect now? Is that you can go and sign up for that?
Yes, you can sign up for the Data Plus beta, the data beta or data beta, however you want to throw that one out there.
Yeah.
It's still open. We're looking for individuals who are in that kind of target audience that's about that like 1 to 2 years of experience as a kind of like junior business analyst, data analyst, working with data, kind of hands-on. So go to our website. I don't know if you guys are going to drop the link in there.
Yeah, we'll
click
put it
on
down
it
there for sure.
And you'll be able to sit for the beta exam from the comfort of your own home.
Fantastic. And I don't want to let you go without letting you tell your great data joke that you told us before.
I've always
setup was great.
I'm not a data analyst, but I've always wanted to data model. No sound effects?
No.
I was expecting something there.
Oh,
there we are.
Not a crowd favorite. That one.
Not a crowd favorite.
Sorry about that. All right. Well, Randall, we want to thank you for taking the time to tell us. I mean, a lot of stuff there. Some, like we said, updates to Cloud Plus, Server Plus, Data Plus coming soon, and all that other great stuff. So we'll check out the website and find out more about IT Pro Appreciation Week, again, July 26th to 29th. So CompTIA.org, right? Is that where we go for all that stuff? Yep. So
Indeed.
Head over there, everybody, and check it out. Well, Randall, thank you again for taking the time today.
Thank you much, guys. Appreciate it.
No problem. And we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with a lot of news right after this on Technado with Don Pizzette.
How do IT leaders stay on top of their game with the IT Pro TV webinar series? Twice per month, IT Pro TV presents a webinar on current topics in the IT world.
What are some of the key things we should be doing in our organization to make sure that we're prepared for disasters and that...
So what do you say we go ahead and get started with today's topic, how to train your end users?
Threats. So we're going to talk about some of the major things that you need to do to help keep your people safe while they're working remote.
You can catch IT Pro TV webinars live or watch on demand when your schedule permits. See them all. Visit itpro.tv/webinars today.
All All right, welcome back to Technado with Don Pizzette. Thank you so much to Randall from CompTIA for joining us. We're going to do a lot more CompTIA stuff this month as we celebrate CompTIA month here at IT Pro TV. But we have a lot of news to get to, a lot of Microsoft stuff today, and it wasn't even a lot of the Windows 11 stuff. We will talk about Windows 11 a little bit later in some of our listener mail. We got a lot of feedback. You people have some strong opinions about Windows 11, so stay tuned for that. But let's go ahead and start off our first one here from WindowsLatest.com. Windows 10 version 21H2 to launch this year with a few new features. So obviously, Don, we were talking about Windows 11 and all its great features, but there's is this the last release then of Windows 10 before that?
No, so I thought it was really interesting. We did focus a lot on Windows 11 last week, so I thought it was important that we get something to show like Windows 10 has not been abandoned. Microsoft is going to continue supporting it through 2025. So it's got several more years of support available, and they announced the next major update for it. 21H2 is supposed to come out in the second half of 2021. And it is not just a bug fix and security update. It does include some feature changes. And the new features aren't all that spectacular, but it does have one that I've kind of been waiting for, which is if you use Windows Hello, right? Windows Hello, on my laptop, I've got the infrared cameras on it, so I can just look at the laptop and it will unlock based on my face. And it requires a fancy camera, right? One that can do the body temperature reading, the infrared stuff, so it knows you're not just a picture or a corpse. As Daniel tends to do. So, and it'll unlock, which is
Nothing
nice.
like digging up old users, Don, getting in their computers.
Right. But, in the case of my laptop, when I take it into my office, I dock it, right? So I close the lid and I plug it in. I got external monitors. And so that camera doesn't work. Well, up until now, you've not been able to use an external camera for Windows Hello, but in the update, in the 21H2 update, you will be able to use an external camera. That's something that's going to be added in Windows 11 as well, but it's nice to see these features rolling out in Windows 10 because not everybody's going to jump on Windows 11 overnight, right? It's going to take years for people to get to that, so it's cool to see Windows 10 still getting some of the new stuff.
Does it make that less secure? Because I know you said that the camera on your machine is infrared, right? So does that?
Oh, the external camera would have to be that way as well. It has to be a Windows Hello capable camera. Yep.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, Daniel can go back to the backyard.
Yeah.
Get all those
my
users.
shovel? Actually, I think the real article is down in the comment section of this article. What a nightmare! They should let us all enjoy Windows 11, or at least make SSD a requirement for Windows 11. Great, maybe Windows 11 will become usable by 2025. ATM, all I see is rounded corners at the expense of removing features and customization.
Why are they all talking about Windows 11? I thought that wasn't what we're talking about here.
They're saying that like I want Windows 11. Windows 10 is just getting like some pretty like whoop-de-doo features or whatever. There's a lot of people that were pretty upset about this article.
Yeah, people are upset about stuff.
But it was more entertaining than the actual article.
Yeah.
The happy people never take time to post.
But man, they are not as funny as in malcontents.
It's the upset people are much more entertaining. All right, well, if there's nothing more to talk about in that update, should we move on to the next?
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
All right, more Windows news. This one is from neowin.net. Microsoft suspends SQL Server on Windows Containers beta, recommends Linux instead. This kind of takes me back when we had John Hammond on. We talked a lot about the Microsoft containers and like security issues. Does this have anything to do with that, or is this a completely different issue?
Maybe a little bit, right? Okay. So a couple of years ago, Microsoft kind of surprised us all by rolling out support for Microsoft SQL Server on Linux. And the way they achieved that was by containerizing it. So you could run Microsoft SQL in a container on top of Linux. Really interesting. And I kind of viewed that at the time as Microsoft saying, look, we're going to start shifting the server workloads over to Linux. Now, that hasn't happened, but I still feel that's the direction they're moving in. Well, last year, they announced support for Microsoft SQL on Windows, which they already had support for, but in Windows containers. Now, Windows containers are a largely pointless thing that Microsoft releases, but they're doubling down on it. They're not getting rid of it, and so they were working on getting SQL to run inside of a Windows container. Well, they ran into some challenges, right? Windows containers are not as fully baked as Linux containers are. Linux containers use C groups and other ways to isolate and create boundaries in between the containers. Windows containers don't really have a lot of that, so Microsoft's a little bit behind the 8 ball on it. the article Peter referenced was that there's a couple of ways to escape Windows containers, which
the Windows containers don't contain things.
And in their original design, security was not even a concern, right? The developers have admitted that. Yeah. And so we've covered that in previous episodes. And so Microsoft has found that two things. One, it's going to take a lot of work to make those SQL containers reliable and secure. And two, very few people were actually using them. So it's just not worth it to do it. And so they've announced that they're ending it. Now, it never came out of beta, so most people wouldn't have adopted these in production. So it's not that big of a loss. But it really is kind of a signal like, hey, we achieved this thing on Linux. We can't achieve it on Windows. Like, what message does that send to you about Windows Server?
Work is hard. That's what it says.
Yeah.
Who's got time for that business, Don?
I still think Windows Server's place is going away.
And ultimately, if you've got it working on the other platform and that's just as easy to deploy, then just do that, right? Like when nobody's using it, like you said, or was it the article that said that never really lost its beta status anyway? So no big deal.
But they make $800 a seat on server licensing versus Linux where they make nothing.
Well,
so.
I know that they're struggling financially. So
No, I know that, Don, your prediction for years has been that there will eventually be a Linux distro that is run by Microsoft.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that kind of didn't happen in tangent with this, that they're saying, hey, just go to Linux, but our Linux or something like that?
So instead of releasing their own, they have partnered more and more closely with Canonical, almost so much that you feel like they should acquire them. I'm sure they could.
Interesting.
They run their own Ubuntu repositories now that are managed by Microsoft. If you use WSL, it defaults to Ubuntu Linux. And so, in a way, they are managing it. They're actually pushing kernel updates for WSL2 through Windows Updates now. So in a way, Microsoft's kind of done it without actually doing it. And I don't know if that's a marketing thing or if there's some future acquisition coming down the line, but more and more as each year passes, I don't understand why Microsoft's Windows Server is still a product. Like, I would not deploy a Windows Server today as a new infrastructure, as new deployment. It would have to be supporting some legacy thing.
So are you counting this as a win then? That there's a Microsoft Linux distro, or are you going to go ahead and put this one in the prediction?
I'm still not ready to stamp it. I think that there will eventually be a actual Microsoft distro, like their name stamped on it, that this
Microsoft
is a product.
Linux.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just like Amazon Linux, right? Which is basically a fork of Ubuntu. It's a fork of CentOS.
Is it?
It was. I don't know what it's going to be now that CentOS is gone, but...
And sadly, you're right that will be the name that they probably spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars for the marketing team to come up with.
We should go out
What
and
do
buy
we call
that.
it?
Focus groups.
Microsoft Linux.
Are you not purchasing that today, Don?
They should call it Lindows.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
They sued and won, so the name's out there.
Did they really? I didn't know they sued them.
Oh, yeah. Sued the hell out of them.
They're calling it Lindows?
Mm-hmm.
Can they do? Did they win?
Yeah.
No way.
That's why it's not Lindows. That's why it became Mandrake or whatever, and then
They have more
disappeared.
lawyers than you,
This does
Daniel.
not make sense.
You don't have to be right. You have to have more resources.
And they've got them.
Yeah, they have that in spades.
In space.
All right, well, sticking on this Microsoft theme for the week, let's move on to TheVerge.com. Microsoft warns of Windows PrintNightmare vulnerability that's been actively exploited. The Windows print spooler strikes again. And so what does this one do? Because a print nightmare to me just sounds like going back to dot matrix or something.
That's just printing.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah.
The print spooler, it has been around in its current form for a long, long time. In fact, if you ran Windows NT 4.0, it used pretty much the same print spooler that you use today, and that was back in 1997. So we're talking about a very mature, old piece of software, but not very feature-rich, right? Not a fancy thing. They've added a little bit to it over the years, and a few times exploits have come out. Now, exploits in the printer spooler are a little extra dangerous because the way print drivers work and how the kernel communicates with them. So privilege escalation is a real risk with the print spooler. Well, a security researcher had discovered not one, not two, but 3 0 days in the print spooler. And they were going to announce them at either Black Hat or RSA.
it was Black Hat.
Black Hat?
Yeah.
So they were going to announce them at the conference. They did responsible disclosure. They told Microsoft. So Microsoft was working on a patch, an update. And so they did announce it. Well, Microsoft rolled out a patch for a exploit for the print spooler. And the researcher thought that patch applied to the vulnerability that he wanted to disclose. And so he disclosed it. and then realized the patch was for another similar 0 day. And so pulled back his paper, but it was too late. It had already been forked on GitHub. It was already out there.
Never forgets.
And so now it's being actively exploited. And what makes the print spooler a nightmare is that every install of Windows is running the print spooler by default, whether you have printers or not. If you have a Windows Server domain controller, it's got the print spooler running on it. It's got ports that are open that are listening for connections. And so Microsoft is telling you that if you've got systems that need to be secure, you need to stop the print spooler because it is a remote code execution attack, which is one of the worst ones, right, Daniel?
What's the worst that could happen, right? Somebody runs a print job, or yes, it is extremely bad. Those RCEs are the last thing in the world you want. So if you have the ability to basically just connect to a machine and go, hey, run whatever code I tell you to or commands I tell you to. Yeah, we'll see. Remember that happened before? Something like Eternal something, Blue something.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Stuxnet.
Heard of that?
Yeah, Stuxnet used it.
Yep. Fun times.
So they can do more than just print stuff off my printer.
I mean, maybe a couple of things, like whatever they want.
That'd be annoying if my neighbor just keeps coming over, be like, hey, can I get that thing I just printed?
Now, this one, this particular vulnerability, and there's two others that haven't been disclosed yet. So this one relies on manipulating the remote print operations. And so you can use group policy to disable remote printing. You can use a firewall to block access to remote printing. So there's a few different ways to stop access to it to protect yourself. Microsoft is still working on a patch.
All right, well,
Nice.
I think, is that it for our Microsoft news?
Yes.
All right, fantastic.
Like he's been waiting for that
Let's-
the whole time.
Yeah. Well, that's a startup. I should have done that at the beginning of the
That is
Microsoft
the
news and
beginning,
played the end music at the end.
Yeah, it's ba-da-do-do.
Yeah, it goes down. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Our next article then is from bleepingcomputer.com. I'm not sure how to say this one, but I think it's REvil ransomware hits 1,000 plus companies in MSP supply chain attack. And that's a big deal. I know that there's a lot of people talking about this one. So what do we know about how this one originated at this point?
Well, let's start with something we don't know, which I don't know how to pronounce this either. Is it REvil?
I would
REvil?
think it's REvil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That
R is
seems-
capital
'cause
and the
RE
E is capital.
It's like we say RE, you know.
But there's no space. So
If you,
yeah.
the listener, know how to pronounce that one, write in and let us know. But,
Revile?
so I'll say REvil for now. We'll go with that. It kind of sounds like Weevil. So this type of attack is one of the worst kind, and it's not the first time that it's happened. Something like this similar happened a couple of years ago. But basically, a hacking group, again, a Russian-based cybercrime group, which is REvil. So I'm starting to go in a circle here. Let me stop. This is not the first time we've heard of REvil, right? So these are the ones that used a ransomware attack to compromise the pipeline on the East Coast in the U.S. that caused gas
same guy.
prices to go up. That was REvil. So, you know,
I thought they did the meat hack.
Oh, the JB,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, they've done a couple. This has been a recurring thing.
Oh, these guys.
Yep. So
you come for our bacon?
they have done
I thought it was
ransomware
Darkside
attacks.
that did the pipeline.
Oh, was it Darkside?
Yeah, I think it was Darkside.
Oh, am I mixing it up?
Yeah.
Well, either way, REvil has been
Bro,
active.
there's so many of those Russian hacking groups.
Yeah.
So hard to keep them straight.
How dare I falsely accuse them of a wrong crime instead of the right crime? It's the same crime, I guess, different.
Yeah, you're going to
different
get
place.
sued now by...
But they are a ransomware group that we've talked about here on the show a couple of times. So this is just their next attack that's been in their long line. But this one is worse than the others because they compromise software used by MSPs, managed service providers. So there is a product out there called Kaseya. Kaseya is owned by ConnectWise. Originally, it was a separate company that was acquired by ConnectWise. So not all ConnectWise products are affected, but Kaseya itself, if you use the cloud-based Kaseya product, it got compromised. Now, there was an authentication bypass that was used and a file upload vulnerability, so they were able to upload content and execute it as an administrator and basically take over the Kaseya cloud deployment. If you've never heard of Kaseya, what it does is it lets you manage updates and software installations across enterprises, disparate systems, and whatever. So MSPs love it because a managed service provider can come in, install the Kaseya agent on all of your computers, and then pull up a quick report to say, are these machines up to date? And if a machine's not up to date, they click a button and it remotely updates that machine, which is really nice.
And I got to think ransomware gangs love it too.
And they did, because the first thing they did is they said, okay, let's turn off Windows Defender. Click.
Yeah, because that's just in the way.
And a few weeks ago, we talked about a secure folder feature that was rolled out by Microsoft that would allow you to protect from ransomware.
Yes.
So they turned that off, right?
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
So that new feature worked great. And so they basically reached out and disabled the security software on thousands of computers. And then we're able to push the ransomware malware payload out and synchronize watches across all these systems and fired off the encryption all at once, encrypting thousands of computers.
Don, it sounds like what you're saying is if they have full control over the computers, they can disable all those safety mechanisms.
They can.
Do what the hell they feel like doing.
They can indeed.
Huh. They should do that more often then if they want to be more successful.
So on one hand, I feel a little bad talking about this news article because, we just talked about Cloud Plus and cloud solutions. Now everybody's adopted them. But this is one of the risks with cloud solutions that by using a managed service provider, if the MSP gets compromised, they have full access to your network. And so now the attackers can leapfrog from the managed service provider to all of their clients. So over 200 Kaseya customers servicing over 1,000 businesses with tens, hundreds of thousands of computers were all impacted by this one breach. And the REvil group had asked for, what was it, $50 million?
I thought 70.
Was it $70 million?
Yeah, it was a big payday.
They wanted a lot.
Yeah, they want that money.
They're reaching out to the individual customers affected, trying to pull ransom there as well. So they're trying to get ransom wherever they can get it.
That's true. Hey,
so
no honor among thieves.
No, there's not. Hey, listen, guy, you already got me over here. Now you're gonna try to get me over there? Come
do I
on.
have to pay this one too, or
this
they're asking $44,999 from the MSPs, which makes me think what is there like at 45,000? There's some like IRS hit or something. Like why are they?
The Russian government's gonna come and be like, you did not pay us. You owe us the money.
Honestly, they've got like the safe haven in Russia, right? So they should just pay the taxes in exchange for the protection they get.
I mean, at the end of the day, you still got a pretty good payout, right?
Well, if you were holding out hopes for President Biden's trip to Russia to stop the ransomware epidemic, what do we call this?
That's a good question.
Epidemic.
Yeah, apocalypse. It did not. Turns out politicians talking don't actually achieve anything.
Weird.
So,
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's another one.
Breaking
of those
news.
Things I thought was true that ain't.
I thought they had a pinky swear in the meeting that this was all over. Well, that is a damn shame.
Lying sons of guns.
All right. Well, let's move on. I mean, so we're in the middle of this one still, so I have a feeling we'll talk about this.
I guess I should mention that, right? Because like with Microsoft, you had that workaround for the print spooler. With Kaseya, the workaround is shut off your Kaseya server.
Stop using this.
Yeah, that's it. So they don't have a fix yet. They understand how the attackers were able to get in. They're working on a patch, but they have not created one. So as of the filming of this episode, the only solution is turn off Kaseya. So that really stinks, because then how do you know if your other updates are going out? You're possibly vulnerable to other stuff.
Tell me I got to go back to the old school manual way of updating and being an administrator and doing my own thing?
I guess so.
Jeez.
But shame you laid off that IT department.
Son of a...
Definitely pay the ransom though, because you can write that off in your taxes. I think we
we talked about that last week. Yeah.
So, hey, congratulations on the tax break, everyone.
Thank you, REvil.
Yeah.
And you'll pay less taxes because
they're in cahoots.
Yeah, you'll pay less taxes because you'll also make less money this year.
That's why it was 49,000. Right? It's like this is perfect tax bracket thing that comes in.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next segment, which is WTF.
What the fuck?
Music.
This segment brought to you by Belltone Hearing Aids.
That's right.
Yeah. Sorry, what?
Exactly.
All right, this one is from, we'll lower that in post. Make a note there. All right, this one is from CNBC.com. California Highway Patrol tickets driver with apparent SpaceX Starlink dish bolted to car hood.
As you do.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the picture?
The picture's fantastic. It is directly in front of
I don't understand why he put it on the hood and not
Why
the
not on the
trunk.
roof?
On the roof.
All right, so I was trying to rationalize this also, right? So in the picture, and if you're listening, you got to Google for it. It was a Toyota Prius, and they took a Starlink satellite dish, which most of us have not seen, right?
The only Prius in California, actually.
Yeah. So
it's like the only car they drive.
The dish is pretty small. It's like 1.5 feet in diameter.
I mean, it's
maybe
about the same size as like a DirecTV or Dish Network.
Is
dish.
it that big?
It's similar.
close.
It's
Yeah,
in
it's
that.
similar.
It's
range.
pretty
It's in
small,
that range.
But it's huge if you mount it smack in the middle of the hood of your car,
Yeah.
which is what this person did. And so it obstructed their vision. They got pulled over and they got a ticket. But like you, Daniel, I was wondering what I was trying to rationalize this. Like, why wouldn't you put it on the roof or on the trunk, right?
Right.
And the trunk, well, if you open the trunk, the dish
Okay.
would hit the car, all right? But
So you don't open the hood as much as you do
so
the
the
trunk.
roof,
That makes sense.
maybe they were worried about low hanging stuff, but it's a Prius. It's
Prius.
not very
It's
tall.
not like it's yeah. And
So-
then like, I mean, how much farther? You're already like Jimmy rigging this thing up to your roof or your hood or whatever. Just put like a hinge mechanism in there and like lay it down and pick it up when you're.
Yeah, because they said they work out of the car, and so that's why they have it.
Come on.
Well, so I was kind of following along with that. All right.
Yeah.
So if you're working out of your car and you got a mobile hotspot, they're not very good, right?
right.
You go into places that don't have cell phone signal. Well, Starlink uses satellite, so
Yeah.
maybe that's the way you rationalize the service. But I was reading some of the user comments on this one, and we don't have Starlink out here, right? It's rolled out in a very small set of zip
I really
codes.
want it.
Yeah.
But apparently, when you sign up for Starlink, you put in your address because one of the Starlink satellites that's part of the constellation has to be specifically looking your way. In order,
makes
because
sense.
it's very, very tight beam. It's not like
Yeah.
whatever the dish internet is, where it's big wide beams can hit anywhere. Here it's very focused. So this wouldn't work. Driving
If you're
around in your
driving, yeah.
car, you'd quickly get outside of the range of where that satellite was expecting you to be, and it wouldn't work. So I really don't. I almost feel like this might be fake news, but it's been picked up by major. This is CNBC, so.
There's just so many questions that crop up in my mind about this whole thing. Like, so the stand that he has mounted to the hood, does the stand give it better signal? Why don't you just lay it flat as a dish on the hood and let it point up and just have like a, I don't know, some sort of mechanism that
Yeah,
allows
there's
you
got to be a better way.
Right. This is just the dumbest way to do this.
Elon Musk said that they do, in the future, they do intend to have Starlink widespread enough where you can put it on a vehicle.
Okay, because I saw that in the article. So
But he said this is not it.
That'll be
Like,
different.
they will actually have a different dish.
Gotcha.
Because you can get DirecTV on a van. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the
it's
giant
the round.
saucer.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I mean, think about your satellite radio. People are getting things from satellites without a huge dish. There's a little antenna that you have, so
Now,
it'd
if you
be
want to have
similar.
some real fun, you got those tracking servos and stuff for like telescopes, and it GPSs to things in the sky. Right, you just tell it where you're at. There's north, and you just point it toward the right satellite,
cool.
and it'll track it.
So
That would be fun.
My favorite part of this
That's
article.
a hack right there.
Yeah. My favorite part of this article, the Highway Patrol posted this on their social media, and they said, their caption was, "Sir, I stopped you today for visual obstruction. Does it not block your view while you're driving?" And the CHP added that the motorist replied, "Only when I make right turns."
Huh. Well, there you go.
So seems
Minimal impact then.
Seems safe
Those
most
people
of
he
the
ran
time.
off the road, they're fine.
And the other thing is the guy bolted it to the hood of his car. That means he had to drill 3 holes in the hood of his
Yeah.
car.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
there seems to be a better way.
But again, a Prius hood,
Just
as Daniel
saying.
said, a Prius hood in California is a dime a dozen.
And like you said, you're not doing this as you drive down the road, so just lay it down or something, or
Yeah.
make a quick release. This
And-
is not like difficult engineering here.
Get some of those heavy magnets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a car. Right? Prius is metal, right?
Yeah, this is the last time I
believe
checked.
so.
Well, you never know. Like the
Yeah, it could
Saturns, they had
be.
the plastic body.
That's
Well,
amazing.
this would work well for NASCAR, where they only turn left.
It's true. No
'Cause
problem.
then-
That is a good point.
Yeah.
That's like a marketing opportunity right there.
Again, it might have a drag issue.
He's looking up.
yeah.
He's looking up the stats on the other drivers' cars while he's making his left turn.
He just sent ransomware to my car.
Man, Kyle Busch has got how much horsepower underneath that thing?
All right, well, that's a mess and not recommended. Wait
know,
till they
Now
roll
that
out.
you mentioned that, I just thought about it. Like the XM radio, that's a one-way communication, right?
Yeah. I
It's
think so.
and-
receiving, yeah.
And with like Dish TV, that's a one-way communication.
Is it a one-way? Well, yeah, because when you're talking, like when you order a movie, for example, I think that's going over your
The
internet.
phone line, right?
Yeah.
You have to have a phone line plugged in,
Yeah.
or at least you used to.
I think it's internet now. It's going
Is
over
it?
your broadband.
All right. Well, we'll see. But having internet in your car, just tethered to your phone. It's easy. That works. I've
Yeah,
done it.
that works.
Yeah. I mean, 5G is a thing now, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want the government to control your mind.
Yeah, if you
Who
like,
doesn't?
if you like
That's
cancer.
what I do. I mean, you don't even have to think about it. You just do it.
All right, let's do one last segment here. I told you we had some feedback from all of you, so let's get into our listener mail segment.
You've got mail.
Man, that takes me back. All right. So last week we talked about Windows 11 and what was coming with that, and people were upset. So let's see. We've got a few comments here. Artemidorus wrote, I do not like the childish macOS design. It's taking away from the window size, so now we need to pay more attention when closing things to not click on the dead space from the rounded corners. The taskbar looks like a pointless gimmick that most people will instantly set back to the original theme. All in all, looks like baby's first Windows. I like that one.
You know, that reminds me when Windows XP came out. Right, and they went to that brighter blue bar and the desktop with the grass hills and stuff. There was we didn't call them memes back then. It was a funny picture.
Like the Teletubbies, right?
That was with Teletubbies, or there was Windows FP, Windows Fisher Price. And it was the same idea. Like, this is what the kids want. But then after a year or two, that just became normal, and nobody batted an eye at it. And people like green grass.
That's a subjective thing, right? So yeah,
I think this one might go that same way. That you might not like it in the beginning, but get used to it. I do kind of agree on the rounded corners, though. Because we're so used to resizing by grabbing onto the corner, and if it's rounded, it makes it a little bit harder. I have that challenge on Macs. Macs, they do weird things on Macs. Like, if you want to click on an icon and it's got a name, like you have to actually click on the line of the letter. You can't click in the blank space.
No, you cannot.
So, hopefully Microsoft doesn't go that crazy.
All right. Next one we had from Coma Boy.
Coma Boy.
With a K. And then boy is spelled B-O-I, so Coma Boy, 19. I'm not digging the TPM 2.0 mandate. None of my PCs have it, and I'm not going to buy a new computer just for this. I usually don't mind updating to a new version. This will likely be the end of the road for myself and Windows.
Well, we did talk about how there are ways to get it installed without a TPM, but I understand why Microsoft is doing it, is to facilitate BitLocker, that they want to have a system that's encrypted by default. And with Macs, they do that through a security chip that Apple puts in all of their hardware. They control the hardware, so they can do that. On Windows, it's third-party hardware, and it's inconsistent. And the various vendors that are out there have not been putting TPMs, especially in motherboards for desktops. They've just not been putting TPMs on there. So at some point, somebody's got to step in and say, look, we need this hardware to better secure our systems. And so that's what Microsoft is trying to do. Fortunately, you've got 4 more years of Windows 10 support before it becomes a forced thing and you have to go to Windows 11. Hopefully your hardware will have a TPM by then. And I suspect we'll see that, where more and more vendors just include a TPM in the base model.
4 more years.
Good way to push innovation into the new technologies. Make you have to be more secure.
And they do sell add-in cards, but I tried one once and it did not work. Period. It did not work.
This is junk.
Not like it was flaky. The system could never detect it. It was weird.
All right, next one. Tony Wise says, just a change of eye candy. Dig an inch down and it's Windows 10. I think it is a cynical ploy to sell more PCs. Windows 10.5, really. Typical U.S. marketing crap.
I feel you.
I'd probably agree with most of that statement.
I mean, it's built on the same platform, basically, right?
If you're Microsoft, I have to imagine they don't make a ton of money selling Windows anymore, right? It's having it packaged with the PCs that we buy. Fewer and fewer people build their own computers anymore, and those are the people that are buying actual Windows licenses, right? So if you go and get a Dell or an HP or whatever, it comes with Windows, and that's where Microsoft is making most of their money on it. So from that respect, those hardware vendors are going to buy Windows 10 or Windows 11 anyway, so that's not necessarily changing the money side of things. And then for the regular users, the upgrade is free. So I don't think it's a money grab, but there's certainly a marketing side to it. You can't just stay Windows 10 for a long time. When Apple went to macOS 11, the competitor went up a version number. We haven't. That's where marketing people are going to step in and say, hey, guys, it's time for a new version number.
That's why they skipped 9, so they could just keep up.
There was an argument.
Why don't we go to 14? We can just jump ahead a few, and then we're ahead.
Just do that.
Mac. All right.
Windows Laser.
Yeah, another person says, Watcher says, it sounds awful as per usual, the modern incarnation of Microsoft, unfortunately. But I did want to share one other, we had one comment about the Facebook data leak we talked about a couple weeks ago. Someone called The World is a Vampire said, Mark Zuckerberg did not create Facebook. He was the face of a government-developed software to gather information and spy on American citizens. His story is fictional and was intended to explain away the phenomenon that was Facebook. Go down the rabbit hole, investigate the CIA project that ended right before Facebook was born. Look up information gathering department called DARPA. Congress shut it down. Then soon after, Facebook was born.
I like this.
You like this segment?
DARPA got shut
This
down?
is enjoyable. I don't know.
DARPA didn't get shut down, did it?
You got shut down.
According to The World is a Vampire,
Sent
it
to
did.
drain.
Right.
No, wait. Sent to drain. Right? That's you gotta say it
Secret
that way.
Destroyer.
Something about pain. I don't remember the next lyric. Yeah.
And what do I get?
Still just a rat in a cage.
Defense
Despite
Advanced
all my
Research
rage.
Projects Agency. As far as I'm aware, DARPA is not. I mean, maybe he was referring to a project at DARPA that got
Probably.
shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. Well, Mr. Vampire World, if you could send in a clarification, we would appreciate it to understand which project at DARPA, because everything else made sense in that argument.
Listen, no one distrusts the government as much as I do, so
If you saw
there's probably some truth to this.
if you saw Mark Zuckerberg's 4th of July post, you will agree that he is a robot. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't see
Oh,
it.
he was like surfing with a
Yeah.
flag, right?
He was just surfing the flag.
Surfing with a
It was a
flag?
weird like hydro.
One of those hydrofoil things where you're like
those
above
are
the
pretty
water a
cool.
little bit, but it was playing John Denver's Country Roads in the back. It was just
Not
it was
Lee
just
Greenwood.
odd.
It should have been Lee Greenwood,
No,
right?
yeah,
Come
because he
on.
was standing up
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, there you go.
All right, hey,
That was that was a bug in the program.
Yeah,
the Zuckerberg
something-
2.0 will be better.
exactly. Yeah, well, he got wet.
There you
That's
go.
the problem.
There you go.
Can't do that.
It was probably a deep fake, right? Like he's
Yeah,
not even out
yeah.
there. He's in China right now.
There's just some redneck that's got some money. He's like, yeah, buddy.
There's a deep fake on his own account.
Yeah.
On his own
myself,
platform.
got Zuckerberg's face. It was amazing.
All right, everybody. Want to let you know about a webinar that's happening today, later today. So if you haven't, you've already skipped out on enough work to listen to this, but just head over to this on 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Thursday, July 11th. It is Explore Next Level CompTIA CyberSec Certs. What makes sense for you? So we'll be talking about CISA and CASP and Pentest Plus and all those things. That is with Patrick Lane from CompTIA. Don't worry if you miss it. We will have it archived. It'll be up on itpro.tv/webinars shortly thereafter, so you can go back and check it out again. We've also got another CompTIA-related webinar taking place later this month, Thursday, July 22nd. First look, updated CompTIA CASP Plus. New exam objectives drop in August, and Adam Gordon will be going through all of those for you, and you can understand what is taking place with the new CASP Plus. So itpro.tv/webinars for both of those. And while you're on the internet, head over to technado.com. You can check out all the latest episodes. You can submit viewer mail like we just talked about, and tell us how you think Mark Zuckerberg was created in a lab.
or how to pronounce REvil.
Or how to pronounce REvil. So many options out there. And you can click that big sponsored by IT Pro TV orange button in the upper right-hand corner and takes you over to IT Pro TV, where you can see all the great features available from IT Pro TV, including, for Teams, you've got the Pro Portal and all that great stuff. And then you can get a 30% off coupon code for the lifetime of your personal membership to IT Pro TV, and take that with you for as long as you live.
Good times.
Sounds
Great times.
phenomenal.
All right. Well, we're recording this a couple days in advance. We've got a tropical storm coming through, so hopefully we survive, and we'll be back next week.
The
It's
category -1 rainstorm.
Yeah.
You mean normal afternoon showers for
It'll
North
just be
Central
like
Florida?
more than an afternoon, like into the evening.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So just a little longer than normal.
I mean, don't stand under a tree
Why not?
because they could fall. They fall a lot during this stuff.
I don't have any trees in my yard, so.
All right. Thanks to the last storm. No. All right, everybody. Well, stay safe if you are in the path. Never mind, because this comes out Thursday, so
It'll be over.
hope you stayed safe.
This is our memorial episode.
Unless it's This is how
I'll
we
miss
want to be
you.
remembered? That's disappointing. Well, thank you to Randall for joining us earlier, and thank you all of you for watching. We'll see you next week right here on Technado with Don Bazette,
Tell our story.
if we live.